Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here with you guys once again. I am Susan Gaitan, training director here at Proactive Training. And oh my gosh, we have such a great episode today. With me, I've got Michael Renaud, our CEO. How you doing?
Good. How you
Always
doing
great to
there?
see you.
Now
Mr.
you're
D.
outnumbered with East Coast people today.
Yes, don't remind me. Don't remind me. Now, if you are watching this, you'll notice we've got a special guest today, and I'm thrilled to have this person on. We've actually known him for quite a while, Mr. Tom Kline. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Susan.
Thank,
Michael?
thank
Great
you
having you
for
here, Tom.
coming on such short notice. Now, I'm going to circle back to you in a minute, so don't you go anywhere. But I do
Promise.
want to just preface this by giving you a little bit of background. He is a risk litigation strategist. So Tom Kline is the founder of Better Vantage Point, and basically we've dubbed him the dealership bodyguard. Okay. So we're going to come back to you. You've got so much to share with us today. We really are leaning on you for some advice. But Michael, I know you've got some news, some updates, and some exciting stuff that you want to share with us. Tell
Oh
us
yeah,
what Active is up to. Yeah.
this podcast is brought to you by Proactive Training Solutions. Proactive Training Solutions, your solution to getting people inside your showroom, all that activity inside out. So what's exciting coming up? We have a bunch of exciting stuff happening here. First and foremost, we are looking at the beginning of July, right after the 4th. We are going to be having our first Management by Fire of the year. We are super excited about that. We have tons of details, location, exact dates, all of that are going to be released in the next week, which we can't wait to share with all of you. Next, we have Susan. I'll give you a little sneak peek of what she's been working on. Susan has, our phone ups that show up is a core part of our training. It's that first introduction of our training to every new sales, BDC rep, and manager. It's been a core of our training, and we are getting a whole new version of that, updated for today, dealing with today's pricing customer, the out the door pricing, handling objections, and helping move that customer, to understand their whys and move them from outside the showroom in, understanding that people are calling us, emailing us, and texting us, not because they just want to come in, but because I got a couple things on my list I need to check off. And if I can check them off, I'm going to come see you. Right. And that's what we're working for. And that's this new phone ups that show up, just new, interactive, completely different, like we've ever seen before, which I'm excited to share. One last piece, too, I want you all to remember. We do mystery shopping every day of the week, every day of the month. We do it for our clients. We do it for several marketing companies, but we also do it for just dealers who want mystery shops. Maybe you don't want the training program. Maybe you just want to hear what's happening in your store, how we're doing. How are we doing with our FTC compliance? These are the things that we mystery shop your stores over the phone, over the internet, and for every mystery shop, we'll shop your competitor as well, because you got to hear what they're saying to understand what you're doing. So that is all for this week's Proactive Minute. Back to you, Susan.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah, I didn't even give you half of it. I just gave you the highlight.
That was all with one breath, too, Susan.
He's been keeping it, Tom. Let me tell you. We have been grinding it out this month. Some new team members on the Proactive team. So excited about that. So let's get back to the program and what it is that we're talking about today. So something happened a couple weeks ago that everybody's been talking about. Maybe not everybody, but a good amount of people are talking about this. And this is the FTC crackdown, the letters and the fines and all the conversations that are going on around what the FTC is doing with dealerships. And really, this goes to all digital retailers, any sort of digital advertising, from what I understand. Now, we're not the experts, okay? We are the experts in the lead conversion game, all right? For years, decades actually, our team has been building word tracks and strategies and scripts written from integrity, written and backed by two people on this call that have been in the industry working in a showroom. themselves. And so, I am proud to say that. I want to remind you guys that we live by those principles, and we like to motivate people on the showroom floor, but we believe in doing it properly and with integrity. So we are not far from that. We're not scared. Basically, we've got a lot of content out there for folks, and I am proud to say that this is, what we put out there are trust builders. But we brought an expert here to shed some extra light, okay? Because we all need a little help, little guidance. What the heck is going on? What do I need to know if I'm a manager at the dealership? If I have a sales team that's getting on the phone and talking to folks, whether it's on the phone or digitally, how can I make sure that they're safe? What do I need to do as a manager? So, little bit more background on Tom Kline. Like I said, he's the founder of Better Vantage Point. Founder of Better Vantage Point. I'm so excited, I can't even talk. But what impresses me the most about you, my friend, is that you were a dealer principal yourself. Okay. So you're not just talking about somebody who knows, their stuff around risk management, but he also understands it from the perspective of the dealership, which makes him just so invaluable. Now, you also wrote a book. You wrote a book, and I see this book everywhere. And the book is called Tuck the Octopus. So maybe you can tell us about that before we finish here. But Tom, let's start off with what the heck is going on with dealerships and the FTC.
Yep. So this is not just a dealership issue. So the FTC has gone after Express Scripts, which is a pharmaceutical company, Live Nation, and before we get to the auto business, let's talk about like why they would go after Live Nation. So as the Republican Party has moved more populist, they're getting into areas that they're concerned about consumers. And one company everybody loves to hate, I think, is Live Nation. Now, why is that? Because after you buy your $200 tickets or $300 tickets if you're going to go see Bruce Springsteen, right, on his latest tour, at the end of that, you get to the end and you get to pay a convenience fee, right? Which everybody's always really excited about. A convenient, there's nothing worse than it's just a flat out screw you, fleece you for money fee. That's all it is. We all know it, right? But we have to deal with it. And so the FTC recognizes that's not a good customer experience. And so they're making changes on how they want people to handle pricing on the internet and pricing in the showroom. And so what they said 2 weeks ago, they sent out a warning letter to 97 dealer groups. Now, that's not dealers, that's dealer groups. And I'm going to put a footnote because I'll come back on how I think they got that list together because I have an opinion. It's unconfirmed, but I have an opinion. But what they said is that you have to have transparent pricing. And any pricing you have has to include all fees. That's not taxes, but all fees. So if you're charging a processing fee, has to be included. If you have a hard ad that you're adding to every vehicle on the lot, then it has to be included. Okay, so in other words, you can't have one price on the internet and then the customer shows up and all of a sudden there's this hard ad which adds another $8.99 to the price or $6.99 or $2.99 or whatever it is. 10 minutes ago before I got on this, my wife and I are looking for a vehicle. She was Googling while I was doing some work. And she said, look, this one's only 48,000. And we clicked on the ad and it clicked over and the price on the dealer website was 52,000. It was a $4,000 difference. I mean, this is what they're trying to prevent from happening. So rebate stacking. Last week, I saw a website that had a conquest rebate. So if you trade in such and such a car, as well stacked on a first-time buyer's rebate. So they showed deductions for both those rebates. Obviously, if you're a first-time buyer, you're not trading in a car. then you wouldn't be a first-time buyer, right? Saw another ad last week which showed a $60,000 truck, and it showed a rebate or a customer cash. Underneath it said customer down payment $5,000. And so the bottom line of the advertised price was 50,000, not 60, because they had all these discounts, and then they showed customer down payment as a part of the advertised price.
Hmm.
This is why the FTC has gotten involved with this. So unconfirmed, and I like to say when I know and when I don't. Unconfirmed, this is how I think the 97 dealers were identified. I believe the FTC went to the attorneys general in each state and said, which dealerships have the most complaints? And how many complaints and how bad is it? And those dealerships or dealership groups that had the highest number of complaints, they got on the list. And I think it's really that simple.
Hmm.
When dealerships are not taking care of the customers and they're complaining for one way or another, and we can have a 2 hour a 2 hour fired up podcast on that topic alone. I think they go to the AGs, they go to lawyers, they go to anybody who will listen, and they put their complaint in. And I think that's how ultimately, I think that's how the list was developed. Maybe we'll see actually a copy of the list. I know a reporter who put in a FOIA request to see who it is. I don't know how the current administration will handle that FOIA request, FOIA's Freedom of Information Act request. So, you have to do things the right way. The FTC is saying if you don't, then it's going to be a fine. The 2025 fine number was $53,088 per occurrence. And if you think they're not serious about that, there's an open case where a VP at a company is being sued by the FTC for $216 million. Dollars. This is public information, $216 million. Dollars. And if you do the math, the quick math is 53,000 times roughly 4,000 is 216 million, roughly. And so whatever happened that the FTC is alleging, which I'm not going to go into because we only have a few minutes, but they're going after him for 216 million. So that's kind of the framework of what we're talking about.
So these weren't just letters, they were fines.
The letters that went out to the 97 were warning letters. There's been
Ah.
fine. I'm talking about an older case where
Hmm.
that's
Right.
still pending against this vice president at this group that's pending for 216 million.
So, I mean, it's funny, people look at federal investigations different, businesses wise, when it comes to things like this and actions. We look at the federal different than the state, right? We say, oh, the federal is going to slap us on the wrist and be unhappy or send a warning letter or something like that. But this really opens the door for the states to kind of go haywire, to really crack certain states. Again, I always describe state laws and the car dealerships. It's like a pendulum swinging, right? I live in New York. Well, the pendulum is swung in favor of the consumer. I think it's like, you barely have $200 for a dock fee in New York, and it costs more than that in reality. But then you go right across the water into New Jersey, and there is no cap on dock fees or dealer fees, right? So
Right.
the pendulum swings depending where it is. Are some states going to feel that pendulum swing in this a little harder than others?
Well, so the attorneys general who handle this, there's an old notion that AG stands for almost governor.
Well, yeah.
And so all the and I've said for years, these AGs are very savvy, very politically motivated, and are interested in what is in their best interest as well as the consumer. And to borrow a phrase, they're not afraid to go against a car dealer because even if they lose, nobody's
We're an
weeping.
easy target. We're an
Nobody's
easy
Yeah.
target.
nobody's weeping for the poor car dealer,
Nope.
right? So
Right.
so we become an easy target. And the AGs are going to be involved for the most part because the way the FTC has more leverage over the dealer is involving the AGs because they can add in some of the state laws and
Right.
penalties and everything gets higher and more complicated and more difficult. And
Yeah.
we've seen that historically in some of the actions that the FTC has taken. It's almost always in conjunction with the AG. In
Yeah.
fact, I can't, at the moment, I can't think in my head about an action that wasn't taken with the AG involved. So the AGs are going to be aggressive, regardless of whether you're in a Democratic state or a Republican state. And don't think that we dealers, I think, need to change the thinking from probability based thinking, like it's not going to happen to me, to impact based thinking, which is if it did happen to me, what would I do? How would I handle it? And I think dealers being very entrepreneurial, they all think that they can negotiate their way out of this if they do have a problem. That would be true if the regulators acted in a linear fashion, of which they don't always act in a linear fashion. And I have inside information that tells me that. I mean, I know this. So it's not just, gosh, if it happens, I'll deal with it. That's it. I mean, that's can be an expensive strategy.
So you're saying don't rely on luck. Let's be proactive, right?
Let's be proactive, which is the right
That's
word.
right.
Let's be proactive.
And on that note, if I were a dealer principal, GM, any leader at the dealership, what would you be telling me right now to do?
Some compliance companies will tell you you have to comply right now immediately since they sent the letters. It's been a number of weeks already and it should be in place. There's more to it than that, because if you race to comply first, then you may price yourself out of your market. You're going to have to carefully see what the other processing fees and doc fees are. You're going to have to decide whether you're going to have hard ads anymore. And if you do have those hard ads, that hard ad has to be in the price. It has to
Mhm.
be in the advertised price. Now, you don't have to, if somebody says, "Can I get a car less than the advertised price?" Yes, you can. Come on in and we'll talk about it.
This is important. Expand on that, please.
But what you can't do, and the FTC showed in this example, a dealer group, that they found out because they surveyed the customers, 88% of the customers, 88% paid an average of $2,000 more than the advertised price on the internet. 88%. That's
Wow.
you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So
Right.
so you're going to have to decide strategically if your hard ad is worth adding and then advertising it that way. Because it's either a hard ad or it's not. And
Right.
if they, I mean, if they come in and you say, "Oh, well, don't worry about it," and you're showing as a hard ad, that in of itself is deceptive.
Yeah.
Michael, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask
Well,
Tom.
I just think so, you know, if I'm a GM sitting in my store right now, Tom, and I hand you, and I tell you, what would you recommend to me? What things do I need to focus on? What things do I need to be looking at? What things should they be opening up and looking at?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know it's kind of dealership dependent, but I'm going to address it as specifically as I can. Let's say you're the home of the ultimate warranty and it never runs out as long as you have the car, right? That's a
Right.
very value-based way of selling, right? I would say you're going to have to hit that harder because now all of a sudden that's more important than price, right? And you're going to have to decide where price is on your scale of being able to sell a car. I mean, it depends on what kind of cars you're selling, right? BMWs aren't selling on price. You want the ultimate driving experience? Come on in, we'll give it to you, right? There may be a BMW dealer that you're advertising against, and maybe you put a tag on there that says, "We'll always beat Joe Blow Motors." Right? Call us for the last price. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do it, and it depends on your make, your model, your value prop, and how forward facing your value proposition is. If you're just advertising on price, then you better have consider having the lowest price.
Right. And and own it, right? I mean, I was talking to a client today, and we were talking about it because they have front end product, right? And he's like, look, I have three choices. I can get rid of my front end product. I can make my front end product a back end product and put it in finance and make them sell it. Or I could lower the price of my front end product, make it actual valuable things that my team will drink the Kool-Aid on and sell. And then I don't have to hide from it. I can put it right out there. I'm proud of it. And I do it. I'm like, didn't you just hear your words? Like, I want to be proud of it. Like, what are you hiding from?
Right.
Right. If you're hiding from it, like, that should be the flag, right? That should be the moment. So, Tom, we're in the word company. Like, one thing we always focus on, and I heard you say it loud, and Susan, she loves rubbing this one in my face all the time, is sell the sizzle, not the steak, right? Like the fajita in the Mexican restaurant. I'll let her tell the story, but like you talked about it, why buys. Like I'll let Susan continue, but like why buys are so important and they matter so much. And so Susan, run with
I'm
it.
just so glad that you brought this up because literally I was thinking the same thing. And believe it or not, Tom brought this up even before I did. So this is again the reason why I'm proud of what we've done with the content that we've delivered, because we've understood the psychology behind the car shopper and how important it is to take those opportunities that they give you to build that trust. One of the things is talk about your dealer. What are all the great things that they do that you need to mention at this point to drive that traffic in? I promise you, you're only talking about it once the car's delivered. I know that because we used to do the same thing, right?
Right.
But as dealerships, we invest a lot of money to have all of those benefits and advantages and the VIP perks and the beautiful lounge and the plasma TV in there. And, all of those little things that, you mention them and they change the experience. All of a sudden, it's not a transactional conversation. It's an emotional one. And, we've always preached that. And I think that now this is the most important time to pivot to that mindset. What say you?
Let's say me or Michael.
You.
Dude, she knows what I think. Everyone knows what I think.
Listen, I mean, I know of a dealership that used to have somebody who did manicures, and you could get a haircut there, and it was a whole thing, right? I mean, so it really depends on what your value prop is, and if you don't have a value prop, then then you probably should work on it now, and that's what you need to be thinking about. Because if you're just going to be a price dealer, then that's okay. You can do that. You'll have low gross and high volume. And the key here, 100% is how you're going to make sure that you don't lose gross while being compliant. That's really, I mean, that's really the headline here is how to not lose gross and still be compliant. Because it's easy to be, you can compliance yourself right out of business. And that's not the game here. So it really, you really need to knuckle down and think about your sales process, what it looks like, what your BDC says, what they do, how they handle the calls, from soup to nuts. Really, if you don't know what all these things are, then now's the time to redesign them, because you're going to feel it in the pocketbook if you don't.
Yeah, you're right. That. And I love it. And you're so right. Like there's gross. You can make gross all you want. You don't have to do the stuff to make the gross. Look at Amazon. Anyone look at Amazon and worry about the price? No, we pay for that service so it lands on my porch. Netflix keeps raising their subscription. They're going to do it twice in a year. Does anyone say anything? No, because it delivers to my house. When you remove the friction, when you remove the nonsense, it becomes a very different purchase. And the American consumer has proven time and time again, they'll pay for the convenience and they'll pay for the value. 100%. You just got to show them it.
That's exactly it. Guys, we're running out of time. I say we do a second podcast in a week or two. I'd love to have you back. How can we get a hold of you? If I'm a dealership, how can I get in touch with Tom?
Yeah, Tom, you can go on my website, bettervantagepoint.com. You can call my cell phone.
We'll just be a minute.
You can call my cell phone, 757-434-7656. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm available.
Awesome. All that's up on the screen here, and inside the description of this week's podcast. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I will say we'll meet up in another week, a week and a half, because as Tom said, April 6th, there's a big NADA and the FTC are getting together. And I think he thinks, we all think, a lot more details will hopefully come out of that, because there are some gray areas still that we're not so sure. So, Tom, thank you so much for your time. Susan, thank you as always. And we'll see you soon.